All right, everybody, welcome to the Hunt Planner course. My name's Kevin Underwood. I'm going to teach you for this hour, and we're going to go through how I digitally scout and how I plan a hunt out from my computer. Been doing this for a few years, mostly on out-of-state hunts that are long distance, which is probably a good reason you might be watching this. Maybe you got a tag, you live back east, maybe you live in a different state out west, and it's just not feasible to go boots on the ground. So this is something I came up with, just trial and error, and over time, and this is how I plan a hunt out digitally. So the first thing I'm going to do, this will be a case study. So I'm here looking at Idaho. I live in Oregon. I go to Idaho a fair amount just because it's close and there's a lot of over-the-counter options. So I'm going to look at Idaho elk tags. Go page 32. Here's the Idaho elk section. You can see their elk zones. So the way Idaho works, if you want to buy an over-the-counter tag, you buy a tag for one of these zones. You get the units within that zone. You can hunt it for the season date shown down below here. So this case study will be from 2014. This is the first time I went to Idaho. I went to the Selway zone. You can see right here. And just kind of pick that at random more or less, just because I want to hunt the Bitterroots along the Idaho-Montana boundary for no other reason than just the name and the history of them. So I decided I want to do a hunt there. The other kicker to this hunt, let's see if we can find the Selway zone. There it is. So Selway zone, B tag. This is the one I went with. And the other reason, you can see any weapon September 15th to September 30th. So it's an awesome tag for an elk hunt. You get to hunt in the rut with a rifle. So that's a cool deal. Now you might have, you could be in several situations. You might have a tag that you drew somewhere you've never been. You're starting new. You might not have drawn the tag you thought you were going to draw. So you're looking for an over-the-counter hunt. You may be starting from scratch and trying to find a tag. You don't know what you want to do. In any case, start with a state, get in the game regs, and go through it and see if you can find an over-the-counter tag to buy and start picking out an area from there. In Idaho, you got a lot of options. You can see all these zones. If you're an archery guy, there's more options in just about every state, especially for elk. And just kind of go through and pick something out and see what you can find. You're going to have to put yourself out there and try a little bit and go with what you can get. So anyway, once I pick a tag, the next thing I do, obviously, I would, whether it's before some of the mapping or after, if you find a tag you like, especially in Idaho, you can see these have a quota, I would go buy this. I have my Idaho tags for the year. They're in a different zone now. A zone I've been hunting for a couple years, but if I wanted the Selway tag, I'd scroll up, read through, figure out how to buy it and get that bought. And then the next thing I do is I go get Google Earth open. If you don't have Google Earth, you're going to need to download it. It's free. Get a Google Earth download. Make sure you have that installed. So we're going to go to Google, and if you're looking specifically at Idaho, you can look for the Idaho Hunt Map Index or Hunt Area Map Index. Another option, I bring it up. Yeah, over here, I brought it up. If you're looking at different states, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, I think, yeah, it's on here, Wyoming. Hunt and Fool has Google Earth Maps as well. So you can go there, Google, you can see huntandfool.com /maps, googlemaps.php. Anyway, we'll go into the Hunt Area Map Index, and I'm going to scroll down to elk, and I'm going to find the Selway zone right there. This file will download, and you want this one on the end, if I didn't mention that, the KMZ file right there. So we'll open this up. Got it in downloads, and we're going to open it with Google Earth. So what this is going to give us right off the bat is we're going to get a nice outline of exactly what we have in our unit. So if we bought this tag hypothetically, or like that year when I did buy this exact tag, this is what I started with. So I got a good outline. That's the stuff that's available to me. Everything outside's off limits. And that's what I'm looking at. So from here, this is a lot of area, right? This is big country. I don't know what the width, I'd assume over here, this is probably 80 to 100 miles left to right down here on the bottom end. So now we got to pick somewhere, you know, smaller in the unit. We got to narrow down a little bit. And a lot of this is going to come down to two things. It's going to come down to what you like. Do you like alpine stuff, like some of this country up in this side? Or do you want to hunt, you know, maybe a little bit lower elevation? Do you want to hunt timber? There's several options in this unit, especially. And then two, access. You know, if you're going to get in the middle, if you have horses, you can get in 30 or 40 miles in some of this country, that might work. There's a few airstrips along here. I know down here, this is unit 19. I've bear hunted this some. There's some road access along the bottom over here, some road access. I think it's at Ora Grande off the top, probably up here. Looks like another airstrip. Yeah, there's Dixie. I think this is the Ora Grande Summit Road somewhere in here. Anyway, you get the idea. You gotta kind of keep that in mind, figure out what you can get to, and then what hunt. When I came here, I wanted to hunt the Bitterroot range kind of at the crest up here along the divide, and I knew that going in, so that narrowed my field right down to this section immediately. I didn't even bother looking at anything else. I was really only interested in hunting all these glacial valley type features up here. So the next thing I'll do, now that I got like kind of a general overview of the unit, is I'm going to go back to Google. I'm going to get on Onyx Maps. If you don't have Onyx, I will say they aren't always my favorite topo maps, but they're pretty good. And for this, they're pretty easy because you can sync it to your phone. Let's see, I accidentally zoomed in there. So I've already put a waypoint on this just to make things a little quicker for the video here. This is one area over there in the Bitterroots. So you can see there's the divide. So we're looking at, and what I will do is I will use this map here with its topo features to figure out my road and trail access. So you can see we got roads over here. Kind of go back to Google Earth to get a view of this. So I knew my best option was going to be coming off this side out of Montana, because everything on the Idaho side is way too far. It's a lot of distance. Well over 40 miles in a lot of cases to get to any of that. Even 25, 30 miles from most of the airstrips probably up into this country. And even that being said, this isn't necessarily easy to get into still. A lot of these hikes off of the Montana side coming from down at the bottom of these valleys are 10 plus miles as well. But I get on the topo map here and I'll just kind of figure out where I got trails, where I don't. You can do some distance stuff, right? If you want to, let's see here. There it goes. It's coming up now. You know, you want to get a general idea. That's 7 miles in a straight line. You can obviously trace these out and get a better idea too. To kind of figure out, yeah, you can trace those out and figure out what kind of distance you're looking at and get a general idea of whether the access is feasible or not. So this will help out a lot. This is how I figure out most of my like primary access if I can get in and out of an area. So when I had this tag, I went through, zoom in until we get the trails right there. I went through a lot of this stuff. You can see some of these spots in the divide, there are no trails. Some of those you could probably get through, but I didn't really want to bushwhack just to get into the unit. I want to have a trail into the unit. There is a spot up here. I think it's up in here. I believe you can drive all the way up into this end here, if I remember correctly, to this campground. I think you can drive all the way to Schumacher. So I kind of avoided this, even though it got me close to the unit, and I could have done something like dive way down Bear Creek. or Spruce Creek. I just figured there'd be more people in here. It seemed like the access was a little too easy, in my opinion. And so, I mean, there really is a lot of options. There's a lot of places you can come up and cross over. And so I kind of use this in conjunction with Google Earth. And what I ended up settling on, if you hadn't figured it out, is where that pin is down here around Vance Mountain. I like the looks of this, especially coming right up over this pass. This pass looked real easy on the trail, pretty doable. Even though this approach is long, it's like 10 miles to get to the state line. These basins looked really huntable to me right in here. And one of my first places I liked was up in this side, and I thought maybe if I really tried hard I'd end up over there, but basically it wasn't real feasible to get into some of this country any other way, so I kind of settled for the stuff right on the other side, thinking maybe if I got gung-ho while I was in there, I'd get over into some of this stuff. So I essentially just went for it. I picked this triangle here, more or less, and decided I like that. I was going to give it a try, and I would just hunt it. And I think a lot of times when you are scouting digitally, you got to think about it, especially if you're in a road with or a unit with a lot of road access. You got to think about some of that and find your spots away from the roads and away from the trails where people might overlook or miss. In this case, this access is pretty tough. This trail sucks. It's really overgrown. The approach is long. There's virtually no access from the west side on anything real feasible for people to get into without well over 40 miles on horses. So I assume my chances of people coming up and hunting this way were very slim. And once I actually got in there and left on the hunt and was the only truck at the trailhead, I knew I pretty much had this to myself. So either way, look at your options, kind of stack up the two maps between onX here to give you some trail info, road info, and then use it in conjunction with Google Earth to kind of look at the topography, the feature set, look for the type of country you want to hunt. If you like calling elk and big timber, look for big timber, obviously. If you like glassing, make sure you're in country you can glass. Play to your strengths and your style so that you're not getting yourself in a spot that isn't conducive for you to hunt. If you're a bow hunter looking at something, maybe especially in deer country, you want to look for terrain that looks stalkable, so that you aren't getting into somewhere and finding deer but then not being able to hunt them because it's bad country to stalk in. So first thing, find your unit, find your tag, get it lined out on Google Earth so you know where you're looking at least. Makes it easy to kind of start eyeing things, and then kind of narrow down a section. Like, this is a big area. You probably can't hunt. Well, I know I can't hunt all this in a week or even one season, but I got a general area to start looking. I know I'm going to hunt somewhere in here now. So from there, what I'll do, I know I'm going to come in this access route from the bottom right here, and I'm going to come up over the pass, and there's the trail right there. So now I'm going to go up here to view, turn on the sidebar. You can see this one highlighted here. That is, that's my file for the yellow line. I'm going to rename that just so I can keep track of it. There we go. So you'll see if we turn it off, turn it on, there it is. I made this folder already. Let's delete this and I'll remake it so you guys can see it. So come up here to add folder, call it Elk Hunt 2019. We'll get that saved. And I accidentally put it in the sightseeing tour. Move this up to my places. These are things that come on Google Earth. You don't need these. You can delete some of this stuff. Delete that one too. These are some old folders I've made already. I'm going to keep those, and you can kind of build those out over time so that you got multiple different hunts and years of hunts and important information stored. So then from there, I'll start going through the map and checking things off. So I might mark this right here. just to note where the summit is. Do that. We'll save it. And let's see. I put that in the wrong folder. Sorry about that. Let's get this. We'll put it over here for a minute just to get it out. So when you make these, make sure you're on the right one. I got sidetracked there when I deleted some other folders. So there it is. There's our trail summit. And then I kind of look in here. There could be something in this area coming right in. It's a nice meadow down in the bottom here. What I did when I came in, I decided right up here, you got this lake, you got a nice bench, and you got this wide open rock. I'll turn the angle a little bit. There you go. You got a great glassing angle right into the first basin. And a couple things I like to look at. There's some good tools on Google Earth. One, you can deal with sunset and sunrise and kind of see what your lighting looks like. So if you go in and set the date to sometime on your hunt, let's see, let's say 15. It opens on September 15th, so that ought to work. And we'll just make sure the time here is late enough so that we get past dark on opening day. Okay, now we can take this slider, scroll back to before daylight, and we can kind of simulate it getting light that first morning from this exact angle where we're going to be sitting. So you can see you got shade here, good sunlight here. This stuff looks good for elk. It's wet. There's benches up in here. You got good looking feeding ground here, some timber down in here potentially to bed in, and you can kind of play that out. See where the sun hits, and then see the opposite direction as it starts to get dark that evening. You're going to be fighting shade, glassing into the shade. So this is really like an ideal morning glassing spot, at least in my opinion. And there you go, right kind of at the golden hour. That'll come back out like it always does. If you don't like that little pop-up that came up for the elk zone, you can turn that off. You'll see now it's fine. So yeah, it's a good morning glassing spot. You can plan a lot of your glassing periods off of this little tool here on Google Earth. Get the sun right, make things work in your favor. The other thing you can do is you can play with some old imagery. We can go back a little bit. So here's the old stuff. I doubt this was actually in December or it'd be covered in snow. So that's probably when it was uploaded. But you can see this one says September 2016. The newer files are getting better with this on Google Earth. This is probably a correct date because you see the leaves changing color on all this brush, especially in here. It's probably sometime during September anyway. It's usually when that occurs in this kind of country. So the nice part about that, if we know that this is taken in September, this image we're looking at, we can come in here and look for water. All right, so this basin definitely has good water in it. It should have water when we're in there. Right, it looks nice. There's water all through the thing. We got these lakes up high. And this is something I'll check on X too. And come back in, we're in this basin over here. There's the lakes up high, and you can really see how significant the benching and stuff is when you get on a topo map, which is why I like to have a topo map to look at too. And see how nice those are. There's your wallow pond looking thing down low that we just looked at. The shading's nice on these onX maps too, so you get a general idea of what things are going to look like. And this basin looks really nice. It's got water, it's got cover, it's got feed, so it's got everything an elk needs. So I like this. So I may put a pin, you know, you call this a pond or a wallow. I don't think it's a wallow, it's too big, but if you did happen to find a wallow, you could put it in here. We'll call it one for the sake of this. And maybe we'll change the color of that to green. Kind of keep different things straight. So now if I really like this glassing spot, you know, I can look around. There's a good water source here, right? I can get water. So let's say you know, I like this. I'm going to camp right here, which isn't very far from where I camped when I actually went. I camped right here. So you switch things up, keep them separate, keep things organized color-wise in your head. There's camp 1. Then maybe you're going to glass from here. Do these in blue. And if you want, and you've done some research, you can say better in morning. All right, and then for that first camp, I already know this right here is going to be my water source. So we'll save that too. All right, so that looks pretty good. And we'll do this too, just to keep track of it. This is the area we're going to be glassing from here. So we'll call that elk spot 1 and turn that to green as well. There we go. Okay, so we got a few pins to work with now. And I kind of put these all over the place, didn't I? Hopefully you guys can do a better job than I do and get these all in the right folder. There we go. Okay. So we got that set up. And then what I'll do from there is I'll kind of keep going through this whole general area I'm looking at. You know, I'll spin around. I'll look for more spots. I think my original plan, I'm trying to remember. So when I actually came in and hunted this, I guess, if you guys want to know. I mean, by all means, hunt it. I don't care. I haven't been back there since. Did see enough animals in there. I shot a bull right here, and I had a buddy shoot a buck, I think right up over in here. Nice buck, 6-point bull, shot them both opening day, and packed out of there. And that was that. It's a long way in. Packing meat out of there sucks, especially an elk, which is going to take you multiple trips. But there were animals in here. That's exactly what we did. We came to that first camp spot, first glassing spot, glassed up bears, moose, elk, deer, all in this first basin. Came down exactly where the trail shows on Google or on onX here. Came down right to this switchback. Came up in here, shot the elk cross canyon. We were going to get the elk. We came up over this way, got the bucks out in the open, shot one of the bucks, and that was that. So anyway, I think my plan though at the time, because you obviously need more than one spot if you're going to come in here. So I thought if that didn't work out, I would then, let's see, I think my plan was to come up in here and climb up this way, and I think I was going to camp up here for camp 2 right there. And this may not have been the best plan, but I was interested in going to there, and then I knew I was going to check out some of this country. Camp 2 is obviously close to water, and then I was going to try and come up over the top. I thought this looked pretty doable. And I was going to glass down into this country. So you have a glassing point up here, let's say. And make that blue. Okay. And now you can see I got it finally set up right where they're going in that folder. And you know, from there, what I was really interested in glassing was kind of this country. Okay. And I was also interested in kind of this stuff up in here for deer, which I didn't have the tag, but my buddy did, so I was planning for that a little bit along the way. So I thought there's some good deer spots, not just right there, but in this little crack. Some of this country I thought looked good for deer, especially with kind of this folds of rock. I thought that was a good stock. So I planned on that. We were bivvy hunting it, so I was planning on doing it that way, and kind of carrying camp with us. You know, camp 3, I believe, if I remember right, this is a small one, but it would work with the water here, as I was going to put camp 3 here. And you can plan these out however you want, obviously. It's your hunt, but put it together, get it written in, because eventually here, once we get these done, we're going to move all this over to onX and to our inReach, if you got an inReach. So camp 3, from camp 3, I'm just going to cross this rock slide, come across here, get out to this side hill, and it's going to glass from here. And okay. And this was going to be my spot. And you can see we can go through the sunlight again. If you leave this open, you won't lose your time that you put in there. 15. And let's go. Yeah, sure. So we'll go maybe back to the day before. That's close enough though. So you see, kind of similar deal. Looks good in the morning, evening. That basin's pretty good. It's pretty good in the evening too. There's a little bit where you're going to fight shadows there from about 5:30 to 6:30 it says. But man, other than that, that's pretty clean look. So I might note that. Edit the details here. Go to properties. Glass, let's say morning or evening. Well, actually I'd probably, in this spot where this camp is, I'd probably glass it both times. Before I moved on, I'd spend a whole day watching that basin. And this was, I messed that up. Glassing point 3. Okay, and we'll make one more to kind of keep track of. This is our elk spot 3. That correlates with that glassing point. It is south facing, but the way it's tucked in here and flattens out should be cool enough. And then I think in my original plan, this ridge here to me looked fairly navigable. Yeah, I should be able to get out that. So I was going to come out, and I think I was planning on, I was going to have to drop down to Whitecap Lakes to get water. So my camp 4, well, really what I probably would do is I would pack one day's worth of water off of camp 3. And let's see what we got over here. Let's spin the angle around. Keep in mind we kind of already glassed this once. See if we can get the internet to load here. Whitecaps, not great elk habitat. This is a long pull uphill, obviously. That's about an impossible pack out back the way we came. That could be good over in there. It looks decent. It's too hard to get to probably though from that ridgeline camp. So I would probably plan on packing water off of here and come in all the way out the ridge up here. Let's see, where's kind of the highest camp spot I can get to? And how far is that? That's the real question. Yeah, I could probably make it from there to here in a day. Right, so I might tentatively put camp 4 up here. And okay, pull water across from camp 3. And you guys kind of get the idea. My plan from here would probably be to come up and glass from right here. And glass down this drainage, and then probably take this drainage down back to the trail in the bottom, and then hunt my way back up some of this stuff up the trail as I go and make the loop back up towards Camp 1. So I'd kind of hunt this ridgeline, come down, maybe hunt across some of these benches, come back, and get out of there. So there's a decent start to a plan, right, which we just put together in the last, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. And it's starting to look like something, right? We got these, we got kind of a rough idea where we want to go in terms of route, and they're sort of numbered out. So Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, Camp 4. So there's at least 4 days if you're bivvy hunting. You know, if this was a base camp setup where you're going to come in and drop a base camp, this is kind of a tough go. I'd keep that in mind, and you know, maybe I would have come down in here to this country and set up base camp, and then came up, hunted this one day, came up, hunted this the next day, came back, hunted some of this. You know, it's a different type of hunt at that point. You aren't quite as mobile. You don't cover as much ground with the base camp. So that's kind of what I'm going to go with for now. This will give you an idea what we're doing. So now what we want to do, that we've, you know, looked at habitat, got some ideas, and your habitat analysis is really only as good as you know animal behavior. You know, if you want to chat about that, I'd love to try and help you out with it, but it's not something we can really cover in a short amount of time. I am putting together a course on a lot of that as well, kind of going A to Z. But for the sake of this, we're going to keep it short and just kind of stick to the digital details and technical stuff here. So that's kind of how I utilize Google Earth. You can also put other layers and things in here, but I mostly use it for the pins and to eyeball where I want to go. So anyway, now that we got those set, we're going to take these waypoints and we want to put those potentially in an inReach if we have one, and in onX maps. So for this, I will pull up, let's pull up this Selway Elk Zone 2. It won't import into our inReach, but it will import into onX. So now that we have that, I'll turn that back on. Right click, and we are going to save place as. I will save it on the desktop for now just to be easy, and I am going to save this as a KML. You want the KML for onX. The inReach seems to be okay with the KML or KMZ, but onX I think only will use the KML file. And oops, sorry, one thing here you want to make sure you do, we want to click the whole folder, not just that one layer. So we're going to save place as, elk hunt, KML, and save. Okay, so now that we got that, we'll come back. Let's do onX first because I got it open right here. Come to my content, import file, select from computer. There it is right there. Open it. And save. And looks like it worked. There it is. So now this is in onX. It'll pop right up on your phone. If you have it on your phone too, under your account, you can see we have our unit boundary. There's elk spot 1. There's the wallow we marked. There's our water source over by Camp 1. Let's see if we can find Camp 1. There it is. Glassing point 1. And there's our notes on that. It says it was better to glass in the morning, so you'll have all that on your phone. If you have an inReach as well, or you don't use onX and you just use an inReach, you'll probably recognize this. You come over to your Garmin site, log in, go to your map. And I guess I already did this one once. Let me pull these waypoints out. Well, actually, some of these are old, as I was playing with this before I decided to film it. We'll add a new one. It'll be new waypoints anyway, so you'll get the idea of how to do it. So we want to come over here in the top right corner and go to import. I'm going to import the lines as routes, even though I didn't make any, and I'm going to add it to a new collection. So by doing this, we can name it Elk Hunt 2019, and okay, hit next. We'll select the file, open that. You're going to get this error if you have the unit boundary in there because it doesn't like those files, but the rest of it should work here. There we go. There's our spots. Those will be on your inReach. All you got to do is come in here, plans and devices. Oops. I think it was that. So these are saved already. You can see elk hunt files right there. Here's all the waypoints. They're named. All you need to do now, come in, get your phone and inReach on, hooked up, go ahead and sync and update everything, and those will migrate over into your phone and right into your inReach on their own. And so that's a great way to go. The nice part too is you can come back and do this in reverse on both sites. You can export right here next to it on the Garmin. You export a KML file, export whatever waypoints you have from when you were in the field, backtrack, come to Google Earth. Instead of doing that, you want to import these over here, and they'll come back up on your map as well. And then you can kind of start building things. You can do it year by year. As you can see, I have some stuff in here from 2018 in Oregon. Here will be the 2019 kind of mock-up from Idaho where I hunted it before. And you go through and you can build yourself a really nice database, especially over years of use, and have everything stored here. Keep your maps really up to date and organized, which is great. It's nice, and you're ready to go once you get in the field. The last thing I would suggest you guys do, which I think is really important, is to come up with a plan B. And I don't even mean necessarily a plan B for a route in here. If I was going to come in this spot and I came in and it completely sucked, it would be really nice to have maybe something a little closer, like in here where I said that road came up earlier. You can see the road in there. So since you can drive all the way up to these lakes, right to the Montana-Idaho border, maybe I'd put a plan B together in here or over in here, somewhere that if my first spot fails, you know, I'm probably tired from hiking in and out. This is fairly quick access. If I only have a day or two left and I need to come out and regroup, I can come out, drive up here, have plan B. And I think that's important. That just worked for me this year on a bear hunt. I had a plan A. I spent most of the trip in there, was just too slow. It went with my instinct. It didn't seem like there's enough bears in there to really make it happen the way I wanted. And came out, went to town, had a day and a half left, had a plan B lined up like 45 minutes up the road, drove in there, hunted out of the truck, and killed a bear before I ran out of time. So I think having a plan B is important, and you can make a new folder for that. You can put it all under the same one, but go through it, scout it out, have a plan B so that if something goes on, be closer to the truck and you got something to fall back on. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps out. If you have any questions, let me know, and good luck this fall.